We were all born with the innate power of knowing and wisdom within us. The challenge for many of us is that we were taught to seek answers externally instead of searching from within. And this is the reason why so many of us find ourselves going around in circles, searching for new ways, but could never find the way. The womanly way. It's not the way. It's not my way. But it is a pathway to support all of us returning back to self, reconnect with our inner wisdom through loving ourselves, knowing ourselves, and reconnecting with ourselves.
Tell me and be honest. Tell me, should I've known?
So we can start to find our own way as modern day women. Are you interested? Well, sit back, relax, and welcome to this amazing journey.
Hello. Welcome to this episode of the Womanly Way podcast. I am your host, Lala Angela Wang. Welcome and thank you for tuning in once again. So today's recording is actually a part of a free masterclass that I am running right now. It's called Pure Magik. And if you have seen the advertising, it's actually pure luck with luck slashed out and then magic. And this was really inspired by comments from people that I've worked with, comments from people in my industry for various of reasons. I think, with my look sometimes, people think that I'm still in like my 30s. And so they'd be like, oh, you have achieved quite a lot for someone who's your age. So, you're lucky to have a life that way. I think if anything, I'll be like, yes, I'm lucky to have my look, to have my genetics in an Asian. That kind of helps, right? But other than that, luck has got nothing to do with it. And so much so, like when people say that to me nowadays, I'm just like, you guys have no idea. And of course, if you have been following me for a while, you will know that, that is not true. There's nothing in life, I believe, is pure luck. But we can create a life that's pure magic. And so it's these kind of conversations that inspired me to create a masterclass, essentially talked about how you too can create pure magic in your life and create an unconventional life, essentially. So I think because we're covering an unconventional life, I kind of need to give you a bit of background about me, where I come from, and how is this unconventional. So I was born in Taiwan, that little island next to China that everybody loves to take a piece of. And I moved to New Zealand when I was 12. It's kind of similar to the current situation where, politically, my parents want to move us out because it was safer, hopefully safer for us. So I moved to New Zealand when I was 12. I finished my high school and university there. I studied architecture. And I moved to Australia after university thinking I'll do a master's degree in construction project management. And that would make me a better architect. That was literally the voice that I followed in my heart and in my head. It didn't quite turn out that way. Initially, I was like, I'm just going to go and study for a year and then come back and then just like continue to live at home. It really didn't happen that way. My then boyfriend lost his job in New Zealand, and so he moved over to Australia. I found a job halfway through and started working for a builder here in Sydney. And so by the time that I graduated, it was like, think I'm just going to stay. And so that 1 year visit now turned into 15 years here in Australia. I came here in 2007, and I've always worked for builders. My first company, I worked for them for almost 7 years, and I went from a cadet, which is like junior in the office, to progress very quickly to what they call a contract administrator. So essentially deal with money, deal with contract negotiation, dealing with assessing claims and cost reporting, all that sort of things. And then about 3 years in, I got an itch. I was like, I have kind of reached a point where I needed more challenge, and I wasn't getting it. So I found a new job. I resigned, and my boss back then was like, well, actually, can you not resign? And what do we need to do to keep you? I'm like, I need some challenge. So he gave me a role called a design manager. Now, mind you, this was a very new concept back then, 2010 in Australia. There were not many design managers around. So nobody really knew what a design manager is meant to do. So my boss set me a task of coming up with my own job description, basically. And I got thrown into the deep end. And I remember my first job was a refurb of a bar in a hotel. I got thread into pieces, I kid you not, by the client side development manager. She literally said to me, you got no idea what you're doing. I don't know what your company's doing. And so she used to call me every single day and tell me how bad I am and tell me how to do my job. In a way, she was mentoring me. But she was mentoring me from, I want to say, a very Asian perspective. It was essentially, harsh words and all the things that would make me cry. I remember crying every day. I would go into the toilet and cry after a phone call. But I have learned so much from that experience. And from that point on, I've taken on multiple additional, roles and responsibilities in that company. And by the time that I decided to leave the company 6 years in, it wasn't because it wasn't because I didn't like the company or I didn't appreciate what they've given me. It was more that I have given so much to this company, I felt like I have given my all. I was working 7 days. I was essentially burning myself away whilst helping someone make the money. And I just wasn't happy anymore. So I've decided to move and look for better opportunities. And that's when I landed with my current company in 2013. 10 years ago. And I took a step back in my role. Instead of being a design manager, I went back to being a contract administrator. During that period, I think I would say that was the beginning of me going through my quarter life crisis. Or if you're into astrology, that was my Saturn return. Okay, Saturn asks us to look at ourselves and where we need to improve, and and sometimes Saturn return can be the most life-changing experiences. It might feel like hell when you're going through it, which I did, but it could be the most life-changing experience you ever had. So during that period, even though I've got a new job, I just was very unsettled. I continued to go to interviews and end up finding myself a new position, a new job working for a private developer. And I thought, that's it. That's what I need to do. I need to work for a developer, understanding projects from start to finish. And that's what I will do. Funny enough, I wasn't happy there. The grass wasn't as green on the other side. And I end up begging my way back to the company. Now, this is when I said I was lucky in a sense that, I had a boss that saw my potential before I saw my own. And he literally got one of the managers of the business to call me and check up on me and see how it went. And that was when I was like, no, it's not working out. But in hindsight, a part of it is luck. The other part is that I knew what I was about, and I knew who I am, my morals, my values, my boundaries. And they saw that in me, right? They saw the potential in me because I knew who I am, who I was, even though I was still searching for who I really was or who I really am. So I came back, stayed for another few years. And one day a recruiter approached me and said, Angela, I've got this position for you that's really awesome. I think it would really suit you. I'm like, well, how do you know? You're like, oh, saw your resume. I'm like, but that resume on the platform that you mentioned is 5 years old. I have not updated it, for this whole time because I didn't need to. No. You'll love this job. And I was like, okay, it's not going to hurt, right, if I just go for interview. So I did. I had the first interview with the recruiter, and she really liked me. So then I went to a second interview with the actual hiring company. They liked me. I went to a third interview again with them with more specific questions and whatnot, and I succeeded. And then they asked me, what's your salary expectation? And that's when I kind of shit my pants. I was like, oh, I guess they really want me. I must have done really well with my interviews. So I'm like, oh, I don't really want to leave. So I named a value that I thought was a lot more. It was 30% more than what I was earning. I was like, that's huge, right? I don't think they'll be able to meet it. But if they accept it, that's great. Guess what? They accepted it. So I went back to my manager and I said, I've got a confession to make. I went to this interview. I wasn't expecting to get a job. I did, and they made an amazing offer. I can't refuse. He's like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, is there any other position? Can our company counter offer? And so he said he'll ask. And so he went up to his direct manager, and his direct manager then came and speak to me, and he's like, not that I know of, but I'll ask around. Long story short, there was one opening that I wasn't aware of with my current department. And it just happened that my two managers that are still my managers today were looking for a design manager that is happy to coach site, that is happy to, get their hands dirty. And they haven't been managed to find that person. And so I went for an interview with them. I went for 2 interviews with them. We had a chat. And by the end of that week, I got the job. And whatever they offered me was only a little bit less than the other job offer that I've got. But it turned out it wasn't less than what I've got. Because a year later, I got another pay rise that was a lot more than what I got offered a year ago because I managed to prove myself. They didn't want to give me exactly what I wanted just because they don't know what I was capable of, right? So out of all this, I've now been in this position. I've had a promotion since coming out of maternity leave for 6 years. 2007, I think I got the promotion. So 8, 9, 10, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, so 6 years. I've been working in this position for 6 years. And I'm at a stage now, I'm probably still growing and, I would like to say I'm at the peak of my career, but I still have so many more peaks to come. And so often people look at me going like, you're so lucky. And I'm just like, well, no, you haven't seen the things that I had to go through. And I think this is part of the reason why I was late to running this masterclass. Well, not a reason, but I've been waiting for a message from the universe on the key fundamental message that I need to deliver today. For those of you who hasn't listened to my podcast or watched any of my masterclasses, my contents are generally channeled. My courses are generally channeled through spirit. They'll tell me what I need to deliver. And today that message just hasn't come. So I kept sitting around, and finally it clicked. Right. I was telling Scott, I'm so tired today. George woke up at 4 this morning. I was on a group call with my mentoring group until 11, 12, 12:30, and then I had to do some more work. So I didn't go to bed until 2. And then George woke up at 4. So I'm exhausted. And I really, running a masterclass is probably the last thing I want to do. I probably just want to go to sleep, right? But I know I had to do it, but the message hasn't come. And so I kept doing all these other things and procrastinating around it. And then finally it clicked. Sometimes through our journey, we need to do the unsexy things. Sometimes through our journey, we need to do those things that are just ugly, unpleasant, that we don't want to do. So much so we may throw a tantrum. Our inner child might be like, oh my God. But sometimes we just got to do it. Right? And maybe looking at where you need to improve yourself, and maybe looking at doing personal development work. But it might be looking at, instead of blaming other people, but look at what have you contributed to any situations. And we're going to talk about this in a lot more detail. But really, to create what other people call luck, or what I call magic, you first need to go through the ugly stuff. It's like they talk about the lotus flower that comes out of the mud. In order to create something so beautiful, sometimes we do have to come through the ugliness, the yuckiness, the stickiness of mud. Right? And that's what this is all about. I used to push so hard with what I do. Like I said, with my first job, in the end, I was working 7 days. I was working my butt off. I had all these people with unrealistic demands and expectations. And my health suffered tremendously. I used to have these rashes that would come out. And when I went to the GP, he's basically said to me, the cream that I give you, you can only claim the special rate, government rebate rate, once a year. And I had that cream I had to get it twice in 6 months. Because that was the only thing that would stop my face from getting itchy. I used to have all these spots that would come out. I was so itchy. I couldn't put any makeup on because my hand would I have to go like this, like tapping my face in order to stop the itchiness. And I used to think in order to create success, I need to push, and I need to be like one of the boys. Right? When I first started my career, my very first mentor was very old school. And he used to say to me, Angela, get your steel cap boots out, meaning go and kick some butt and don't come back until you have achieved something. And, if you don't get something, scream and yell and kick and do whatever you need to do. And that was basically, the old school mentality. But as I got older and as I went through my quarter-life crisis, I realized that old way of doing things really wasn't the most effective way. In fact, it was actually very damaging to my health. And when I started my own business, I started to look at how I could easily or incorporate flow into my life a bit easier. When I first started my business as a side hustle, I used to do everything myself. And I would have 2 hours sleep a day for like a week. And I'll be like a zombie when I get to work. And it just didn't work that way. I wanted to keep my job, but I also want to keep my side hustle. So I had to figure out a way. So I've decided to hire mentors that will help me do that. Right, so I had a lot of investment in myself in the form of mentors and coaches that helped me tap into more of a feminine flow. And slowly, I started to learn that I don't have to keep pushing to get to what I need. In fact, if I can look after myself, look after my energy, everything in this life is about energy and vibration. The higher my vibration, the better my energy, the cleaner my energy, the more I will be able to create. It's easier said than done though, right? Like I said, there's a lot of, I don't want to say dirty work, but there's a lot of ugly work that goes behind the scenes. It started from me really looking at my life and taking responsibility. And whenever something doesn't work out, instead of blaming, looking at what do I need to do? What have I contributed to the situation and how can I improve it? To really looking at what do I need to let go of, the shadow work, right? What emotions do I need to work on? What horrible childhood memories that I need to work on? And it's just like when I didn't want to start this masterclass earlier. I could procrastinate a lot because I just didn't feel like doing it at the time. Who would feel like holding a mirror on your face when you have a cold and flu, when you feel sick, when you don't feel like facing yourself, and someone held a mirror right in front of you and say, look at this. How does that feel? Well, that's exactly how personal development work and shadow work works, right? That's exactly how it feels like. But without doing the work, we stay stagnant. And without doing the work, I would never be able to create the growth and the evolution that I have created in my life. And this is what I realized through my career is that as a high achiever, as somebody who is almost geeky-ish in my desire to learn things, I learn a lot quicker, but that also means I get bored a lot quicker. That also means that the moment that I feel like I stop learning, I'll go and find something to learn. Right? So if I am in a job that I am stagnant and I'm not growing, I won't stay there. But instead of making it the company's responsibility. I've made it my personal responsibility to make sure that I'm stimulated, that I am interested, that I am, not necessarily keeping myself busy, but keep growing and satisfying that hunger in me to learn. And I truly, truly, truly believe it is this, I'm almost going to say ethic, that has led me to creating magic in my life. Right? So it's about being responsible for your own life, for your own result, for the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then being able to hold yourself account to really challenge yourself to improve every single day, to improve in situations, and to be open to new ways of doing things. It was really funny. The colleague that only stayed with us for 3 months, I think it was like a month in, she said, "Oh, can we have a chat?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So we had a chat, and she's like, "Oh, if I can give you some feedback." I'm like, "Yeah, of course." And then so she gave me some feedback, and I was like, "Fantastic, thank you for your feedback. I will see what I can do to improve myself." And she was really shocked. She's like, "I wasn't expecting this reaction. I thought you'd be mad at me or you'd be angry." I'm like, "Why would I be angry? You have just given me the greatest gift, right? For me to work on myself, and I love feedback." And she's like, "Oh, blah, 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 blah." I'm like, "Look, you probably don't know me well enough, but I've done enough work to know that, this is how we grow and this is how I do it. So I welcome any feedback." And 10 years ago, this is something that I would not be able to say or even do. I would probably be just like what she said, be really, really angry and pissed off. And that really is the power of holding yourself to a higher standard, right? When you have held yourself to a higher standard for a long period of time, that becomes a muscle that you exercise every single day. That becomes a habit. And that becomes your baseline. That each time that we raise ourselves, that raise our bar, that becomes a baseline. And that's how we grow and improve, and people around us can sense that. And that's how people start to see you differently. People start to see you as a leader because you lead by example. And that really is the key. To create unconventional success, you first need to hold a standard of success, right? Hold a standard of what success looks like for you and be that standard. It's not, "I'll be this version of me when I achieve that." It's, "I'll be this version of me before I achieve that." Because by you being the future you are already there. So the world, the universe, the rest of the things around you will just need to catch up. There's no luck then. It's just magic. And just to back that up, I used to hate doing this. I'm one of those people that just don't like restrictions and rules. Have daily practices. You can call them rituals, you can call them tasks, you can call them whatever you want, practices, routines. I don't like the word routine, so I prefer practices. It is important because it sets the foundation for all aspects of lives. And it is important because, and this is what I truly believe, I use the analogy of water. Water without containment like without a vessel to contain it, you can't do anything with it. You can't drink it. You can't utilize it, right? But the moment you put it in a vessel, you can take full advantage of it. You can drink it. You can use it to, even like having a shower. It still comes out of a hose or a tap and a rose at the end of it, right? You need something to give it direction. And this is the same thing like daily practices. You need some sort of containment to give you that freedom. What are you? The freedom, the expression. Otherwise, you'll just be a loose cannon and everything will just be like, bleh. Because there's no direction, there's no focus, right? And that's what daily practices do for me. It doesn't have to be a lot. You don't have to do, a set thing a day. What I used to do is imagining I've got a suite of daily practices. It could be journaling, it could be meditation, it could be gratitude, it could be, reading, it could be walks, movement, dance, whatever it is. I imagine it like those spinning wheels. And each day I ask myself what I desire to do and I do that. But these days, now I become a mum, I actually desire a lot more boundaries and certainty just so I can plan my day better. If I allow myself to go off on a tangent like what I used to, I'll probably end up not doing it because I'm so tired, right? So I've given myself a bit more boundary. But I'm also flexible about this. It might change, right? And that's what I truly believe. Like we need boundaries, but also need flexibility. It's like we need tough love, but also need to give ourselves grace. Too much tough love is like the rubber band, it will snap. Not enough tough love and too much freedom is like loose water. You just like water that goes out, just splatters, there's no direction. So depending on what stage of life you're in, you could be anywhere between the two spectrums, as long as it gives you joy and as long as it gives you security, a sense of direction and a sense of boundary. And that is important. So for me right now, my non-negotiables at least have some movement a day. Where possible. There are days where it's just not possible. But my absolute minimum would be gratitude and connecting with spirit. Whether it's pulling a card, whether it's meditation, whether it's journaling, I just need to connect with spirit. And then some sort of business activity because I just love it. Also because I'm running a business. A certain degree of discipline is needed. But what I find really is with the foundation, I am then able to free flow and, be who I want to be because it's like a tree, right? If the root system is firm, then it's got more freedom up the top to grow and to be stronger and to be fuller in the foliages. And that is what daily practices do. It's like our foundations. And for me, it's so important for me to be able to connect with spirit, for me to ground myself and show appreciation to the things around me. And so if I can share any wisdom in today's masterclass, it is decide, number one, decide if you wanted to live a life of unconventionalness, right? If you want a different life and if you want to make a difference in this lifetime, if that's you, make that decision now. No, maybe if, maybe later. No, make that decision now and today. And once you make that decision, then decide that you're going to take full responsibility of your life from this point onwards. That you're going to hold yourself accountable. That you're going to take full responsibility. And you're going to put your big boy's pants on, big girl's pants on, and lead yourself first before you lead anyone else. And then commit to a daily practice. Start doing that for as long as you can. And whenever you go off track, just come back, redo it. I've got this program called Back to Basics. And I've been running it since September. So Back to Basics essentially for me and for my clients as well to go back to the basics. What you often find is when I am running a program, I would do it myself too because I create programs that I wanted to do myself. I've gone off the rail probably about 3-4 times. But one thing about me is I'm very stubborn and I'm very resilient. Every time I jump off or fell off the horse, I'll pick it up again. So we're meant to do 111 days of journaling and daily practices continuously. I've just restarted as of last week. So I'm week 2 now. Still keep doing it. And this is what I truly believe. Eventually you'll get good at it. But if you just stop whenever you fell off the horse, you'll never be good at it. And that process of continue falling and get up, falling and getting up, falling and getting up is the process of mastery. Then I become very good at falling off and get up. But also I became very good at understanding what are the triggers for me to fall off. And so I can find ways then to stop falling off. Or I can also find ways to have more compassion for myself because I am still a new mum to a toddler that's 20 months old. That's very demanding. I've got a very demanding job and I've got a business on the side. That is a lot. And so I need to be gentle with myself at times. Right? So it's never a juggling act, but it is a bit of a balancing act. I prefer to call harmonizing act because there's so many different aspects of our lives. I don't ever believe that it will just be like equal, either equal quarters or equal, 20% or whatever it is. There's no such a thing. It depends on the stage of life you're in and your priorities. You don't have different priorities to me. You might be prioritizing your relationships right now, which is fine. I've gone through that phase. You might be prioritizing your health, and that's perfectly okay as well. There's always different phases in life. And you just need to decide what phase you want to be in right here, right now, and be responsible for that decision. So the download I've got is that this is not the one and only for Pure Magic. I will be delivering almost like a series of Pure Magic in different aspects on how we can create magic in different aspects of lives. Today is more of a general overview, and then next week we'll jump onto a separate focus to talk about a different aspect. I don't know. It could be body, it could be mind, it could be emotions, it could be spirituality, it could be wealth and abundance. I don't know. We'll see what the divine asks me to deliver next week and we will go from there. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you like today's episode, please give us a thumbs up or give us a heart, give us a like on the platform, subscribe and share, because that means a lot to me. Love you all so much. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Womanly Way. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast if you feel aligned to do so. Or check out our post-show discussions on my Instagram page @The Womanly Way. See you next time.